Shalom, friends. My name is Rebecca, and I was just sitting here thinking about all of the brave women in the Torah. And I thought of Esther. Have you heard of the story of her bravery? Well, great. Maybe you can help me tell the story then. Yeah. And so let's put on our listening ears and rest our feet. Long time ago, there was a king named Ahasuerus, and his queen was named Vashti. They were having a lavish banquet. The king called for Vashti because he wanted to show off her beauty, but she refused. She refused to see the king. Can you do that with me? You put up your hand like this. She refused to come to the king. Well, this made the king angry. And not only that, one of his advisors began to mock him. His name was Haman. Now, spoiler alert, Haman, he was not a very good man. So whenever you hear his name, I want you to boo. Let's practice. Haman. Boo. Very good. Haman. Excellent. So Haman mocked the king. He told the king that if the other women in the village heard about what Queen Vashti did, they wouldn't listen to their husbands either. So he convinced the king to have Queen Vashti killed. But after some time, the king became lonely. And so he sent out the decree to search the land for a beautiful new bride. Well, they searched north, and they searched south, and then east and west, and everywhere in between. And finally, they found who they were looking for. They found a beautiful woman by the name of Esther. And after a year, they were married. But Esther, she had a secret. The king didn't know that she was Jewish. But by this time, Haman was prime minister, and he had to become very prideful. He made everyone around him bow down to him. But there was one man by the name of Mordecai. He was the leader of the Jewish people and Esther's uncle. He refused to bow down to Haman. Well, this made Haman angry, and he went to the king and convinced him to have all of the Jewish people killed. Well, Mordecai, he learned of this and sent a message to Esther. Esther, you must go to the king on behalf of the people. Well, Esther, she was afraid. She remembered what happened to Queen Vashti. But she realized that it was the only way. It had to be done. So she fasted. She didn't eat anything and prayed for 3 days. After the 3 days, well, she mustered up the courage to go to the king. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet. While they were at the banquet, the king asked Esther what it is that she wanted. Well, she could have anything up to half of the kingdom. But she simply asked to dine with them again the next day. Well, the king and Haman agreed. But that night, the king couldn't sleep. He tossed and he turned. Well, finally, he called for the book of his reign. And the book, well, it opened to the story of when Mordecai exposed an assassination plot against the king. The king wondered if Mordecai had ever been rewarded for his heroic deeds. Well, the next morning, Haman arrived to talk to the king. But before he could say a word, the king asked him a question. What should be done for the man that the king delights to honor? Well, Haman, he just knew that the king was referring to him, and so this is what he said. Take a robe that the king has worn, and a horse that the king has ridden, place the royal crest on the horse's head. Entrust these things to noble princes. Have them to robe the man, then lead him around through the city on the horse, declaring, This is what is done for the man whom the king delights to honor. Well, the king thought this was a great idea. So he told Mordecai to prepare all these things. He was to prepare these things for Mordecai. Mordecai? Haman was shocked. Why would he want to honor Mordecai in this way? But he had to do as the king decreed. So he led Mordecai through the city, declaring, This is what is done for the man whom the king delights to honor. And then afterwards, they went to the second banquet. It was at this banquet that Esther decided to reveal her secret to the king. She told the king that she herself was Jewish and all about her faith. And she begged him to save her people. And the king agreed. But it was right about now that one of the king's men happened to mention about the gallows that Haman had built for Mordecai. Well, when the king heard this, he was angry, and he decreed that Haman would hang on those very gallows. Well, my friends, you've now heard the story of Esther. You know, being brave is not always easy. Sometimes you have to choose between what is easy and what is right. So I hope someday, if you're faced with a scary situation, that you'll remember the story of Esther and choose what is right. Well, my friends, thank you. Shalama.